Hey there, my name's Curtis Lucas, and you're watching Empire Building. So news broke today that probably flew under the radar for most. Turns out, Bit Digital might be a scam.
You know, somehow, I told you so just doesn't quite say it.
Now, I will say that the report that was filed today should be taken with a grain of salt, considering it does come from a short seller who stands to profit from the demise of this company. Nevertheless, their findings are somewhat consistent with the concerns that I had voiced 2 weeks ago. So I'm going to highlight and share some of the main points that they're making in their scathing report that was released last night. J Capital Research was the company that issued this scathing report, and the claims that they're making are very far-reaching, and to my knowledge, Bit Digital has yet to respond to it. Right at the top of the report, you'll see a picture of Zhang Erkson, former company CEO, now being sought by Chinese police, with key executives in jail or on the lam for having bilked Chinese investors out of $42 million in fraudulent peer-to-peer business. Bit Digital has moved on to fake cryptocurrency business. We will show that the assets probably do not exist and the business is designed to steal funds from investors. BTBT tried to downplay the criminality. It disclosed that it had to replace Director Liu in September 2020 because the company was not able to reach Mr. Liu. That is because, as BTBT knew, Liu was in jail. It reported that then CFO Lin Jing, also in jail, was the subject of such criminal enforcement measures. The VIE bank accounts were frozen by Shanghai court and remain frozen to this day. Once police had shut down its business, BTBT tried to distance itself by selling the China operations for $10 plus other goods and valuable consideration. Actually, even after divesting, BTBT may have liability for the $42 million lost through fraud. BTBT is now onto its third scheme since IPO for stealing money from investors. There was peer-to-peer lending, car rental, and now Bitcoin mining. The company reported at the end of Q3 2020 that it was operating 22,869 miners in China. That is simply not possible. With no subsidiary in China, that would be illegal, and the machines subject to confiscation. What's more, we verified with local governments supposedly hosting the BTB mining operation that there are no Bitcoin miners there. We also believe that BTBT has not bought new miners. Two of the companies it says sold the machines were surprised to hear they did business with BTBT, and the third refused to confirm BTBT as a customer. We suspect the company has simply stolen the $18.8 million it claims to have spent on miners in the first 9 months of 2020. To operate this sham Bitcoin business, BTBT acquired Hong Kong company Xmax and employed one of its founders, Yu Hong. Without disclosing Yu's relationship, we found 7 lawsuits against Yu Hong in China by disgruntled investors in his various other companies. Multiple stories in the Hong Kong and US press indicate that Xmax is a fraud, as is its cryptocurrency XMX. Xmax was reported to have halted its mining operations last May and had its miners confiscated in China. A November 23, 2020 article in the paper reads, in May 2020, Yu Hong announced that due to the impact of the macroeconomy and the halving of Bitcoin production, all mining machines were suspended and the repurchase plan of Xmax cryptocurrency XMX was suspended. Yu Hong revealed on Weibo on June 1st that the mining was suspended because the XMX mining machines in Lanzhou mine were confiscated and a lawsuit was being filed. Before the peer-to-peer business, BTBT claimed it was in car rentals, but all it did was book deposits of cash for cars, then write them off, magically making cash disappear. BTBT gatekeepers are the lowest of the low, starting with the underwriter, ViewTrade, whose underwriting clients have seen their share prices drop by at least 75% on average when they haven't been delisted. The company has had 3 strip mall auditors resign in 3 years. One of them, we stayed for just 9 months and did not sign any of the statements. Now, this New York-based company has an auditor based in Singapore. So, yeah, this goes on and on and on. It gets worse. I'm not even sure what to say anymore, but if you still own shares in this company, and I almost never do this, your best bet is to get out as quickly as possible. The most unfortunate part here is when you sell, you'll be selling to some other poor schmuck who has no idea this has happened. Now, no doubt at some point, BT Bit Digital will issue some form of rebuttal to this statement, but I've read this entire document, and while some of it is conjecture, a lot of it is backed up with pretty solid research. This research firm actually called every jurisdiction where Bit Digital claims to have a mining operation set up. And in China, it is law that those Bitcoin mining operations and other data centers have to be registered and have licenses. Every single jurisdiction they checked confirmed that not only are they not aware of Bit Digital, they don't have any cryptocurrency mining operations inside their jurisdictions. Which means one of two things. Either one, they don't have a mine operating in that location, or two, it's operating illegally. In both cases, they're in a lot of trouble. The second thing they claim is that the miners that they claim to have purchased don't appear to have come from the manufacturers who produced them, since those companies have also never heard of Bit Digital and claim to have never conducted any business with them. That only leaves the alternative that they purchased these miners secondhand, if they purchase them at all, which again begs the question, why? And the next issue brings us to the Xmax acquisition that occurred earlier in 2020, which signaled their entry into the Bitcoin mining space. As I reported on in my last video, this was the company they acquired, which allowed them to get such a head start on Bitcoin mining operations in the first place. Clearly, this research company went a few steps further than even I did. But in my defense, once I've seen enough, I knew enough to stay away. I wasn't interested in taking out any short position in this company. I said it before, I do not short companies. I'll learn enough to steer far and clear from them, but I would never stand in front of this train. Essentially, what this report is claiming is that the company Xmax that Bit Digital acquired and then employed that company's owner was already a well-known scam. Bit Digital made no mention that this company actually had its own cryptocurrency with the symbol XMX. You can look it up on CoinMarketCap. It's a definite coin. They also go on to claim in this report that when you go on Xmax website, there's no mention that the company itself is owned by Bit Digital. And the inconsistencies go on and on and on from there. Following the events that led to the arrest of the former CEO, CFO, and several other senior management, the board moved to replace the CEO and CFO with two new members. This report is making the claim that those two new members are merely placeholders and the control of the company still resides with those who have already been imprisoned. We believe the key shareholders who founded and operated the company until the Chinese authorities shut down the peer-to-peer business remain in control of the company today. They are no longer named executives or directors, but they control the voting power and the operations via the puppet CEO and CFO they had appointed. The criminals responsible for the peer-to-peer and the fake car leasing business are driving the repositioned Bitcoin mining concept. At the time of the arrest in July 2019, BTBT had 6 directors. CEO Zhang Erkson was chairman of the board and owned 16.6%, and Liu Zhanyu was a director. With 42% of the company, Liu was arrested, and Zhang escaped arrest and is in the U.S. Chinese authorities have asked for international assistance in bringing him to justice. The remaining directors not under arrest or subject to warrant removed Liu and Zhang from the board on October 2019. The board then appointed Hu Min as CEO and a director and Huang Irk as CFO and a director. Both lacked experience requisite for the roles. Hu Min's bio says he graduated from Jingqishi College. This institution targets 14 to 15-year-olds who cannot pass an entrance exam for high school. His bio says he has a law degree from this institution, but Guindao Qishi does not offer studies in law. If Hugh received a diploma at all, it could have been a vocational certificate for teenagers. According to his official bio, Hugh's work experience was as manager of a small liquor company, manager of a wholesale market, and manager of a hair growth center. We could not identify the hair growth center based on the English provided. Possibly the company has closed down. Liu now owns 18% and Zhang 5.2%, having been diluted by new shares issued in 2020. We believe the Hu and Huang are shadow directors operating the company on behalf of the criminal and fugitive Liu and Zhang. The new directors are foxes in the chicken coop. The next part of this letter goes into a lot of history of the institutions or organizations that these people have been a part of. A lot of the names and descriptions I can't pronounce, so I do recommend, if you're interested, continue to read, but I'm going to skip ahead to the next part. The newly appointed CFO has 0 accounting qualifications or experience according to his profile. Huang is head of 2 investment firms. Hu Hong became an executive director and the chief strategy officer of BTBT on April 19, 2020. In its release, the company did not mention that Yu was a founder of Xmax, the fraudy crypto platform BTBT had acquired 2 weeks earlier. Liu and Zhang were not forced to sell their shares and remained in control of the company. We believe Hu and Huang are shadow director operating the company on behalf of the criminal and fugitive Liu and Zhang. And yes, the report does continue. They go on to highlight potential fraudulent activities associated with the car rental business that they claim to operate. Basically what they do is go on to paint a pattern of this activity. And the evidence they provide is not only circumstantial. My issues with this company stem from a few red flags that certainly went up, and based on that was enough to tell me that this company was not safe to invest in, based purely on a risk assessment point of view. There are way too many other alternatives in this space to subject yourself to that level of risk. That's exactly what I said about 2 weeks ago when this stock first started to tear. Unfortunately, within this space, when things move as fast as they do, there are shady individuals out there who would not hesitate to rob investors of everything they can before tuck tail and running. And apparently, they can still orchestrate that from a Chinese prison. Clearly, these people are not afraid of the law, even in China. But what would this space be without a little drama? So as this story continues to develop, we'll keep a close eye on it, but I'm certainly not going anywhere near these shares, not even to short them. That's my recommendation if you wanted it. But that's it for this one. Now let's get back to empire building. Bye.